Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Paul, Ode to Ether by Dreadnought. Let's dive into this one. It's a bit on the longer side. We're looking at something at 10.5 minutes. Let's dive in and see what Dreadnought is bringing to the table. Mysterious. We've got that drone in the background, providing a home that this melody sits on top of. Given the nature of the channel, the audience, and the title Dreadnought, I was expecting metal. I'm pleasantly surprised. Lots of trills, sax, flute. Really interesting phrasing here. If you listen to this tone over here, oh, whoa, what's going on there? Anyways, this idea over here, it's in a 9-beat phrase. But I don't know that that's true for everything. It's really difficult to find where one is. Ramping up the intensity with that bass guitar and the drums. interesting phrasing, though. We are in 4/4. Same vocalist for both styles, right? It's a very interesting collection of sounds. Like, where we are now would never have been on any of my guesses from where we started. Yeah, nice little transition into this tempo shift while still having a little bit of an accelerando present. I like that piano in the center. A return to the polymetric ideas from our intro. Actually, it's a return to a lot of the ideas from our intro, not just general concepts. Well, Well, that was a bit too early, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy a lot about this, but I'm not sure I dig this song in particular. I'm gonna have to look more into them and see what's up, because there's a lot of potential for me to get into this casually, just on my own outside the channel. But I don't think I'm gonna have a really positive read on it as a reaction. Though, as usual, I'm going to try to stick as closely as I can to a primarily objective read so that we can dig into what they're doing, how they're accomplishing it, and some of the cool things that they are adding to their music that other bands don't. But it was a bit of a difficult listen for me, to say the least. The big thing to me here is the variety in the music. We spent what, close to half of the song with this gorgeous multi-layered uh, instrumental opening that focused primarily on percussion, strings, and woodwinds. It was beautiful. I had a tough time figuring out exactly what was going on, giving all the polymetric and polyrhythmic ideas. I think we had both of them. There's definitely some odd phrasing going on throughout there. Definitely lending itself more towards a meditative stance, which I think is very interesting given that we just got done checking out a track from, was it Alm? Who uh, also did something very close to this, just highly meditative in a lot of ways. That's, yeah, I mean, 2 in 1 day is kind of interesting, especially when we're dealing with randomness like this. Um, But yeah, it's just a really beautiful, meditative, trance-like opening 5 minutes that primarily focuses on what sounded to me acoustic instrumentation, creating a fantastic vibe of mystery and exploration and introspection. And like I had mentioned, given the band Dreadnought and the community around the channel, I was really surprised that 50% in the way, or 50% into this track, we were still on this topic musically, and I thought that this was going to be the meat of the song. And it it wasn't. I don't know why they decided that this was the point when they wanted to do such a tonal shift, but yeah, 50% or so into the track, and we go in a drastically different direction. We remove all of that introspective trance like instrumentation for a metal setup. Distorted guitars, two, if I remember right, electric bass, drum kit, and harsh vocals. The production also gets, at least in my mind, greatly diminished from something that is very wide and open and spacious between all of our instruments to something very compressed and closed in and just small. Not to mention that it feels like the music should be louder, but doesn't actually get to that point. The vocals that were clean, we had these runs. I don't remember if there was language to it. We just had these really beautiful vocal lines in our opening 5 minutes, are now compressed and pushed into the mix. It's it's just a totally different song, different instrumentation, different production, different harmonic ideas, different chord progressions, different intentions. It doesn't even really smoothly move into it. It sort of just happens. We fade out one, and then we had like a drum, what was it, bass kicks, just like four on the floor, and then we layered in the metal stuff or something like that. Like it wasn't even, it was just we were doing this awesome stuff, and now we're doing this metal. And it was just, I'm serious. Uh, I don't know if it'll be the next shirt that I start selling, but we will have a Ruined by Metal shirt. It's becoming too frequent for me that I really get into something and then it turns metal in a way that I'm just not a fan of. And that's exactly what happened here. Interestingly, though, looking at the metal stuff in a vacuum, it is blackened vocals with sludgy guitars. Am I right on that? Highly compressed, slower moving, kind of doomy, but not doom metal. Not that slow tempo, holding things out for a long time, but it sort of has that feel, those really weighty, aggressive guitar tones. But again, the production just kind of undermines them. They don't feel as large or as powerful as they should be, I thought. And we reduce all of the metric complexity, all of the melodic layering down to this one riff played with our two instruments. I don't think they harmonized. I think they played the same riff. The bass laying down pedal tones, if I remember correctly, but on the rhythm of the guitars, and the drums just laying down a pretty standard tempo back there, being more of a metronome style drumming. It's fine for what it is, but it feels so weak compared to where we came from. And usually, at least to me, metal is a way to amplify an idea, not just through the sound by increasing the volume or the perceived volume, even of the sound itself, but also the aggression and the weight and the largeness. Metal can be very larger than life, especially when looking at something acoustic and smaller band wise, like we had in the opening. Metal doesn't really feel bigger than an orchestra, but the what quintet? I think we had sextet maybe at the beginning. A rock band, a metal band's going to sound massively larger than that, or it should. It doesn't do that here. It's very strange to me to pair these two together still. Um, from here, though, we begin a flurry of peaks and valleys. If we were at a low for 5 minutes and our height is metal, we now sort of fluctuate between them for the remaining 5-ish minutes of the track. What I found was neat through this fluctuation is that, unlike some bands who would have their acoustic set and their metal set, we tend to see a bit of fluctuation between these. When we return back to the acoustic set of instrumentation, it is similar in composition and construction to our intro, but not quite. It does take on a little bit of the metal sides style of composition and the way that it layers. We also see a return to a less dense, or less rhythmically dense idea, something more in line with the more straightforward rhythm of the metal side. And we even have a section where we have like this weird drug trip moment with all of these massive slides, which I think are done with the electric guitar over the acoustic instrumentation. Lots of microtonality in there. And there was a metal section where we utilized the clean vocals from our acoustic bit. So instead of just having two sets, we eventually find out that those are extremities of a spectrum, and that most of the other sections in the track are variations of the two, and different portions of the spectrum, moving between heavier metal stuff and lighter acoustic ideas. And so I really appreciated that. Um, I'm not a real big fan of switching between extremes. So I really enjoyed the contrast that they brought to the table with this idea of a spectrum between these two styles, and mixing them in that way. Um, there's a lot of skill on display here as well. I think as far as performance wise, musicianship and chops, the vocals are the most impressive to me, given just how large of a range there is between the more ethereal poppy vocals, the forward placed rock cleans, and the black metal harshes, that really nasally pointed style of harsh. Um, more and more. Do I have a date on this? 2015. Okay, so it is more modern. I was going to say more and more vocalists, it seems these days, are aiming to at least have a really strong clean and a really strong harsh outside of the extremities of genre. You start looking at really extreme metal, nobody does cleans in there, and the really extreme side of mainstream, and nobody's doing harshes. But once you get to the middle, it seems that there's, like I said, more and more vocalists who are attempting to have this wide range, being able to do harshes and cleans, and even multiple types of cleans and multiple types of harshes. So, it's becoming more of the norm, I think, and I'm really curious what we'll see in another decade or two. But it's very cool here to see a vocalist going through all of these different styles. Also, I'm curious, I don't have a personnel list anywhere. Read full bio. Nope, not in there either. Yeah, I'm curious. Maybe I'll look at this when I pause for the lyrics, but I'm curious who plays all the instruments. If the rock band, because you notice they never play them together. The flutes and the jazz and the jazz, the flutes and the sax and the violins are only played in the acoustic section. So maybe the band all gets up and has this second set of instruments to play, which I think would be very cool. It might make the music segmented as it is, that I'm not a huge fan of, but it would be very cool for performance to see these people move between these two very different sets of instruments. Um, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, on the musicianship level. Otherwise, though, I don't really think anything in here really highlighted any instrumentation or musicianship. The song was very much everything in service of the atmosphere, regardless of if that was the more meditative trance stuff or the heavier aggressive metal stuff. Nothing was really there to show off any individual. Everything was in service to the song itself. So there's nothing really to highlight there other than the vocalist, but I do want to say that the band overall, or whoever is the main composer, if they have one, has some chops. They can write both driving metal and this really cool acoustic trance stuff. And I think that they have a ton of skill in being able to differentiate what is needed for each particular style, as they're very different in composition. And it's really nice to see somebody have such an understanding of such two drastic types of music, even if, again, they didn't come together very well. Still, having them there being as effective as they are showcases a lot of chops for the composer. I think that's going to wrap this one up. Let's see some lyrics, see what's going on there, and maybe I can piece together what the song is trying to do. I honestly thought there were more lyrics in the song than it seems there are. We have a total of 3 stanzas, of which 12 lines total. Yeah, I'm just going to read it fully as a poem, and we'll discuss it after that. These bodies in fluid motion, revolving as clockwork about the one called soul, shall know euphoria as the arbiter takes his glacial crown. Hearken, the two-tailed wanderer comes to us from distant starscapes to spread awe and wonder throughout the cluster, to dance with us about our sun, to regale and enlighten everyone. Drink will pour and laughter fill the celestial hall we call our home. I went and looked up what ether meant. It is a class of compounds in chemistry that contain an ether group, which is an oxygen atom connected with two alkyl or aryl groups. Now, I don't know how important that is, but I find the next bit to be a bit more important, hopefully. says ethers are common in organic chemistry and even more prevalent in biochemistry as they are common linkages in carbohydrates and lignins. I'm curious if any of that is what they were aiming for. Now, I'm not gonna lie, chemistry is not my strong suit. I have always done poorly with chemistry courses uh, in academia. It's always been something difficult for me to grasp. So, most of that goes over my head, but the idea that it's very prevalent in biochemistry and the composition of living organisms makes me wonder if, connecting to the idea of dance and fluid motion of bodies, um, and talking about being joyous, is an ode to the components that make up life, or to shorten that, an ode to life. It is quite reductive, I think, to translate ether just to life, but there is a lot in here, I feel, that kind of works in that direction. It says the body's in fluid motion, revolving as clockwork about the one called soul. Now, this could refer to the planets around a sun in a solar system, but I think it could also be more literally translated the bodies of the people on the planets that revolve around a sun. It says that they shall know euphoria. Now, I'm not sure. It says, as the arbiter takes his glacial crown. I'm not too sure about that line. But the next stanza talks about somebody who comes to these people or to these planets. Again, the bodies could be celestial bodies or, carbon, not necessarily carbon based, life bodies, though. That's a weird phrase. Life bodies. Anyway, somebody comes to them from far away to spread awe and wonder, to dance with them as they go about the sun as well. And to enlighten everyone, there will be drinking and there will be laughing in this celestial hall. And it just really feels like it's about, to me, it's kind of the purpose of life. It's to enjoy it, it's to spread knowledge. It's to connect with other people, not just from where you are from, but from outside of that, to expand your horizons. It feels like an ode to life. Now, I have no idea how any of this connects with the music. The trance-like elements, I don't really see anything trancey in here, but also the blackened vocal, sludgy guitar work doesn't have the happiness that I think is present in here either. There was a mysteriousness that I spoke about in our intro that I think could be pointed towards here. The mysteriousness of someone from outside of your home who can bring new information to spread awe and wonder. The mysteriousness of the universe, the mysteriousness of even your solar system. This whole thing is sort of about enlightenment and joy. And I think that there is a midsection of where enlightenment can be joyful, and that is at the point of mystery and the uncovering of mystery, which I think the song does a pretty good job of doing. Again, though, that's sort of just, 4 to 5 minutes of the track. I'm really not sure what the rest of the song uh, means in relationship to the lyrics, but those are just my thoughts on Dreadnought's Ode to Ether. Let me know yours. What do you think the music means in relationship to the lyrics? Are there any sections in here that speak to you? What are your opinions or perspectives about this track, musically or lyrically? When you're done commenting, head up to the description box. In there, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.